What's up, everybody? It's the homie Truth Teller, the street reporter. And a lot of people always asking me about 051Melly. They ask me about DRose600, and I'm asked about KI a lot. I'm not gonna lie, those are three names that intrigue me because those are some of the biggest names in the underground drill culture. But these guys are not rappers. They don't really got songs on the internet, even though I do believe D-Rose started uploading songs once he got locked up in prison. These guys are going to always be synonymous with the drill culture. And in my opinion, these are three of the top enforcers, even though they don't look typical. When I say enforcer, you probably thinking somebody that's 6'9", 300 pounds, big and cocky. No, KI is actually a lady. D-Rose was very short, and Melly was a skinny, pruny kind of dude. But these guys were known as real street dudes, played the street politics. You didn't really want to beef with them. People in the street talk about them as if they were real Chirac legends, as crazy as this shit sound, whether you want to believe me or not. I believe all three of these guys allow the internet to kind of control certain situations of theirs. Think about this. Melly was kind of in the background for years. We seen him in videos, we seen him in interviews and shit, but people never really knew who he was until the internet kind of got a whiff of him. They created this Grand Reaper character, a tough guy, the guy who kills people, who shoot people and shit like that. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do any of that, but the internet kind of hyped this guy up. I talked to him in a DM. He told me that the internet made it real dangerous for him. The internet made him hot. And I can believe that. I actually interviewed DRose600 while he was fighting this case. They accusing him of killing some guy by the name of Denzel Richardson. I believe he lost this case and think he's going to be doing 40 years, but I think he's still fighting the appeal. It was rumors came out that he lost this appeal, but hearing through people I talked to, they said that was false. Then you got KI, that's the young lady who people say was a real serial killer, a real female Freddy Krueger. They say she was out here drilling people and handling that business, taking care of shit. A lot of people say she had something to do with like top O-Block members losing their life. I can't verify that. There's just rumors and shit that go on the internet. You got to remember, it's a lot of Instagram FBI officers out here, so you got to be careful of the information that you take in. But while I was studying the drill culture, I'm going to tell you a few things that I noticed. What I noticed was none of these guys, even that lady from KID Rose to Melly, they were all on the internet, a lot of videos, but none were monetized on their YouTube channel, which means other people uploaded videos of them. They didn't have any songs. They didn't have any videos as far as music go viral. They basically got the clout for nothing. The internet made those guys hot and they weren't able to monetize off that shit. Another thing I noticed was, in KI case, she was a lady. She was known as being a killer. They say she was tearing everybody's ass off. Everybody was afraid of her. In my opinion, for somebody to be 16, 17 years old, not really thinking about having a future, maybe having kids, a husband, or hell, if you own some other shit, a wife, who am I to talk about you? But it didn't seem like she had real life future goals. The fact that somebody that young would have all these guns in the house, somebody that young would be able to go in these communities and just kill people without having no heart. I believe a lot of the older gang members in her community took advantage of her because they realized that she had a heart of a soldier. She wasn't afraid to do things that the young people did, so they put the guns in her hand and allowed her to do what she had to do. I'm not saying she wasn't an active participant in that shit. I'm just saying I believe somebody that young who lost their life that young had some type of influence in her head. Remember, she lost her life chilling on a block, a couple blocks from where she lived at. I was told she didn't have cars, she didn't own businesses, she wasn't an entrepreneur, she didn't have 50 cribs that she lived in. For somebody who's known as a top assassin, somebody who's known as the top killer in the neighborhood, the one you call when it's a problem, you would think that these guys would have paid her handsomely. You think she would have been rewarded big time. No, I was told she died and she didn't have any money. I was told when Melly lost his life, he wasn't rich. He didn't own communities. He didn't own property. He wasn't an entrepreneur. D-Rose known as a hitman, an assassin in the hood. He didn't own any kind of businesses, entrepreneurship, and I heard he was living with someone. Now, this is not to disrespect nobody. This is just to tell you that I believe a lot of these young men were being taken advantage in their communities. You know, they were led the wrong way. The OGs in the hood ain't really show these guys the right way. They either allowed them to run rampant like they did, or they just showed them the wrong way and took advantage of a lot of these guys. I do believe that when those indictments came down in those communities, because remember, on the south side of Chicago, it was a lot of indictments, a lot of conspiracies, a lot of cases that came down. They took those projects down. They built these little Section 8 programs, then allowed the fathers in the communities with them. Then they did these conspiracies. Next thing you know, I'm opening up Sunshine newspapers and seeing 40 people locked up off of drug conspiracies. And I said, damn, it's no more fathers in those communities. It's no guidance. It's no mentorship. It's just women and kids in those communities. You know, it's no toughness, no sternness. Someone to teach these kids the right way to say, hey, look, we ain't gonna do that. You know, having that big homie spirit around kind of help. I noticed that shit when I was documenting the drill culture. That's why I say, don't get me wrong. I don't want to take away from nobody. I'm not saying nobody not mean. I'm not saying a lot of these guys ain't demonic, got a lot of sinister ways. But I also noticed that a lot of these people were taken advantage of. The internet made them hot. Everyone who lost their life was involved in internet beefs, you know. And that's why I say a lot of these rappers, they gonna fall off. Some gonna lose their lives. Some gonna build different careers. But I noticed the younger people, like K.I., DRose600, these are three people who wasn't rappers, but who was famous as hell in the drill culture, who probably took the biggest losses out of all of them. Now, once we add in C-Day, Rondo number 9, L.A. Capone, then you want to throw in like Dusky the Man. You want to throw in, who else do you want to throw in? Some more young people. All these guys were under 25 years old and they lost their life. So I just wanted to speak on that shit because a lot of people always tell me, man, K.I. was a real goon. D-Rose was a real goon. They always tell me this, and I be wanting to remind them and tell them, look, if these guys were as goonish and top goons like you say they was, they sure wasn't paid like it, you know? In my opinion, these guys were used by the old heads. They risked their life and got put in a position, and nobody came to the rescue. It's the homie truth. Bleh.